In our efforts to protect voting rights and to prevent voting fraud, we will be vigilant and we will be strong. But let me be clear. Let me be very clear. We will not allow political pretexts to disenfranchise American citizens of their most precious right.
That was Attorney General Eric Holder speaking earlier at the NAACP's annual convention. Holder pledged the Justice Department would remain aggressive in challenging a new wave of voter restrictions. The question now is, will it be enough? Republicans are trying to steal this election in Pennsylvania. One GOP leader in the state even admitted it.
Voter ID, which is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state of Pennsylvania. Done.
So Pennsylvania is now ground zero for voter disenfranchisement. 4 years ago, Barack Obama won the state by the biggest majority of any candidate since 1972. Now, thanks to a new voter ID law, keeping the Keystone State blue will be a much larger task and challenge, no doubt. Over 758,000 registered voters in Pennsylvania might not meet the new voting requirements because of a lack of identification. That's 9.2% of all voters in the state. And Democratic strongholds will be hit the hardest. The new law could affect 18% of voters in Philadelphia, a must-win for President Obama. But Republicans are forging ahead with their plan. A lucrative state contract was awarded to a Republican lobbying firm to create ads that educate the masses.
Your right to vote. It's one thing you never want to miss out on. This year, the law requires that every Pennsylvania voter show a photo ID at the polls.
As the Philadelphia City paper reports, the PSAs were created by a company called the Bravo Group. Bravo Group's president and CEO is a former executive director of the state's Republican Party. He's also a pharmaceutical lobbyist, a school voucher supporter. And best of all, he's a fundraiser for Mitt Romney. A lot to take down here. Let's bring in Donna Lieberman. She's the executive director of the New York Civil Liberties Union. New Jersey GOP Assembly Leader John Bramnick, and attorney and author Catherine Cryer. Great to have all of you with us tonight. This is a big and developing story in America. Donna, let me ask you. The American Civil Liberties Union and the NAACP, they are challenging the law. What are your expectations? What's going to happen here?
Well, it's really hard to imagine that this kind of law would survive judicial scrutiny because the law is not about voter impersonation. It's really about impersonating democracy. And there's no evidence of voter fraud, but there's lots and lots of evidence that what this is designed to do is steal the election for Governor Romney. And the way it's designed to do that is by disenfranchising hundreds of thousands of vulnerable Pennsylvanian citizens who are entitled, as a matter of constitutional right, to participate in the electoral process.
Mr. Bramnick, the Republicans say that it's about voter fraud. UFO sightings are more common than cases of voter fraud. Why risk disenfranchising voters?
I don't think you're disenfranchised. This is the most important system we have is the people's right to vote. Here's a situation where all we're saying is you need identification to vote. I don't think that's a weird idea or a crazy idea. It's probably what most Americans think is the right thing to do to protect the system. And the argument that somehow it's done for suppression, to me, that's someone who simply wants to argue that to vote is important. You should have identification. That's what the important factor is.
Then I'm the one that's going to take that other argument because you've got to be kidding me. If I'm sitting on the bench and somebody comes in and you're looking at a statute, you say, what's the problem? No evidence of any sort of rampant voter fraud. None anywhere. We've had these conversations before. I mean, the Bush administration, working as hard as they could, came out with about 32 cases over an 8-year period. Okay. Secondarily, what's the remedy? Well, we want a picture ID. How hard is it for any college kid to go nowadays? In fact, you can do it online and make up your phony ID. So is the remedy addressing the artificial problem? Absolutely not. I mean, what it is causing a major burden analogous to a poll tax.
Well, that's what Eric Holder called it today. He said it was a poll tax. You agree with that?
Absolutely not. First of all, it's difficult to identify fraud. That means you have to have an investigation in every election.
Well, what's the motivation for doing this if it's not fraud?
Well, it is fraud, but the question is how much fraud is out there. There has to be an investigation in order to determine how much fraud there is. So it's only very tight races that are investigated. So to say there's no fraud out there, that's just not fair.
I think that's really a misstatement of reality. You know, the Bush administration spent 5 years not just trying to find voter fraud, but pressuring U.S. attorneys on threat of losing their jobs. That was a scandal in and of itself to prosecute voter fraud. And they came up with nothing in 2 digits. And this is involving like 5 years. I mean, you know, the point is well taken. You know, we're more likely to see a UFO than to find voter fraud. And it's not for lack of looking. You know, they looked hard. They looked under every bed.
Driving a car is not a right.
You don't have a constitutional
you need a
right
license.
to
Now, my
drive
question
a car.
is to go in and do what I think is one of the most important civic duties you have in order to have some identification and make sure that the voting people know you're the voter. I don't think that's crazy.
No, it's not crazy.
9.2% of the people might not vote in Pennsylvania because of these new laws. You think that's right?
Right now, as soon as they learn that's the law, as soon as they understand it's relatively simple to get the ID.
It's really simple. It's really simple for my 99-year-old great-grandmother, if I had one, to go out and get a voter ID. It's really simple for somebody who suffers disabilities.
The number of counties in state after state that are talking about enacting this that don't have the DMV facilities, that have no opportunity to do this. I mean, the argument is so ludicrous that we're even having this debate when there is no evidence whatsoever, years of investigation, and this is a problem, when the remedy is so easy to get around if you truly were trying to commit fraud.
What about the GOP leader in Pennsylvania that said that these laws are going to deliver the state from Mitt Romney?
First of all,
it's kind of damaging, isn't it?
First of all, you can't speak about everyone's comment in the party. I can only speak on the basic concept. In order for you to vote and in order for you to have identification.
He's some responsible. You're a leader. You know there's responsibility with what you say.
Well, there's a lot of leaders. I can't speak for him. I don't know him personally. I don't.
But I mean, he said that these laws were designed to deliver the state to Mitt Romney.
Well, he has his right to his opinion. That's not my position.
This isn't just a matter of opinion. This is the facts say otherwise. Look, this is about disenfranchising people who are perceived by the GOP to be likely to vote Democratic. Now, you know, it's one thing if you win an election fair and square, but to steal it, that's not democracy. That's a fraud.
Years of doing just fine with the system.
Does that mean you have no responsibility whatsoever? There's no need whatsoever to get identification?
There's lots of identification required to register to vote.
At this point?
Yeah.
Well, you don't need a photo ID at this point to vote?
What's wrong with using the utility bill? What's wrong with using a mortgage bill? What's wrong with using what they use?
You think New Jersey should have voter ID as far as photos?
I'd have to look further into that in New Jersey. I haven't proposed it.
Donna Lieberman, John Bramnick, appreciate it. Catherine Cryer, always. Great to have all of you with us tonight. Great discussion. Coming up, lawmakers in Florida closed their state's only tuberculosis hospital after the CDC warned of a major outbreak. We'll give you the details next. Stay with us.